and welcome to the 2023 Doctor Who Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road, where today, actually no, let me turn that ambience back up. We found a lovely 12th Doctor TARDIS ambience. In fact, where did I put it? Where did I put it? Not that one. Not that one.
How many of you...
Not that one. There's a bunch of ads. This one. I think it's this one. There we go. I don't remember. I found a great one, but it's got random, like, papers and random noises on the back. And I'm like, dang it, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to find a better one. Come on, Disney, release a ambience. But no, anyway, welcome back. Hello, Sourflake. Nice to have you join us. Nice to have you aboard. I haven't picked a frame for when I get rid of this thumbnail on the screen. Anyway, yes, the Doctor Who Christmas special. It was good. I liked it. Oh, hang on. I forgot to hit record. There we go. Hello, recording people who always miss the intro because I forget to hit record. Yeah, no, this was a good episode. It was a really solid Christmas special. I ended up watching it. Oh yeah, I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Boxing Day. We don't really do that here, but Happy Boxing Day. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, I ended up watching the Christmas special, actually with my parents, with my dad and stepmom, which I wasn't expecting it. I just brought up I was going to watch it. I'm like, well, why don't we go watch it now? Because they've got a nice, like, theater set up at their place. So I watched it with my wife, who'll probably pop down at some point to tell you why why Ruby's mom is River. It's actually interesting because I watched it with my wife, who used to be a Doctor Who fan. I'm building them up. They're on the first Doctor still. Yeah, I'm taking them the long way around, but I decided for this new era they can join me. I watched it with my dad, who had never seen Doctor Who, but of course is sort of casually aware of it, and my stepmom, who used to watch Doctor Who, which you probably thought exactly what I did when I heard that, and you're right, means that they have seen 9, 10, and a lot of 11 before they dropped off. So kind of like, I got the two versions of the sort of casual, which is what is really a core audience of this episode, is kind of the introduction to a new era. And indeed, the only thing in this entire episode that actually, like, doesn't make sense unless you've seen previous episodes is the word Mavity. And excuse me, well, I'm gonna check the gain on my microphone, so things might sound weird. There we go. No, I'll lower it. No, that looks good. I was speaking a bit. Sourflake, the woman who said, what, have you never seen a TARDIS? Might be the person you took the Master's tooth, but they don't have red nails, though. Funny thing, I actually didn't see that scene until like 10 minutes ago when I just rewatched the episode, because I don't like the Next Time On trailers, and I thought there might be one, so I had my dad stop the episode. But yeah, as I just said, I rewatched it literally just before the stream, but because this was a second watch through, that means unprecedented in these review live streams, and quite frankly, most of the videos, I got a big thing of notes in front of me that we can go over. But yeah, returning back to sort of that bigger picture, it's very Russell T Davies. It was very focused in on the companion, on Ruby. We learn a whole lot about Ruby. I'll definitely be getting into a lot of that. I mean, she's such a good companion. I haven't seen good companion material in years, and she's absolutely, I love her as a companion, and it was really striking me the second watch through, just kind of how capable she was. Because I said I liked it the first time I watched it. It was a good Christmas special. You know, it wasn't a standout episode, as most episodes aren't. Because otherwise, if most episodes were standout, they would no longer be standout. But it actually improved on this second watch through quite a bit for me, because on the first one, it wasn't what I was expecting. Like, the goblins almost weren't as much a focus, or we kind of dealt with them a little faster than I would have thought. Like, where's the goblin song? Here? And like, they are... No, that's it. They aren't the focus. Like, they're the villain. They're throughout most of this story, but the focus, very Russell T Davies, is on the companion. Who's, just like Rose, back in the episode Rose. That's gonna get confusing. We open with Rose and kind of centering on her life and grounding the story. And once, I kind of got over that, like, I knew what the episode was gonna be, I think... Yeah, my own expectations brought the episode down a bit. But still, everyone walked away that Christmas being like, oh yeah, that was a good episode. And in fact, I even think I've been trying to get my brother to get into Doctor Who, because he's also dropped off literally the episode before the 11th Doctor regenerates. And I'm like, I just need to send him this scene, and then I'll get him. But no, when we started watching, completely unexpectedly, my stepmom, when she saw the Doctor, was like, oh, he kind of looks like Eric from Sex Education. And I was like, well, I don't know his name. I hope it was Eric, and I'm remembering right. But that is, in fact, Ncuti Gatwa, who is famous for playing someone in Sex Education. So I think, at least when it comes to my stepmom, I think Ncuti Gatwa has pulled in at least one old fan. Snowflake Ruby is kind of like Rose. Ruby is like Rose, but without the annoying bits. I don't know. I'm not one of the people who really like hates Rose. I think it's more Ruby's like Rose, but maybe without the fawning for the Doctor. I don't even know if that's a super fair comparison. She's a Russell T Davies companion, both Ruby and Rose are. They're both the first episode of a new era of Doctor Who, so the episodes are structured kind of similarly, with the companion as a focus. I don't think I look at Ruby and go, she's like any companion before, but she's good companion material, and there's a lot of similarities amongst good companions, As we'll get in, I'll get to the Doctor, like, there's no Doctor where I really go back and be Ncuti Gatwa's like X, whatever Doctor. But there are a lot of characteristics, like there's a bit where Dad asked me towards the end, has there ever been a Doctor who was energetic? And I was like, not like this. I don't think there's ever been a Doctor who's energetic like Ncuti Gatwa. I can't imagine... I can kind of imagine 13 doing this if she was written well. Look, I said after the Christmas special I'm not allowed to diss Chibnall, so this is my last time. Yeah, I can't see any Doctor who's energetic like Ncuti, but, the second Doctor and the 11th Doctor did have a lot of energy. They were very energetic. It sucks that you're the only one watching the stream. Sourflake, it is great that you are watching the stream. No, it's good to have any audience. I usually get at least one or two people. Doctor Who's been great when I did it right before the episodes. I just wasn't going to have that hanging over my Christmas. But no, it's good. One of my best streaming times. Oh, hello, Jack Slaw. Hey, I believe... I'm sorry, Sourflake, if I'm not recognizing you, but I believe you're the first carryover from when we do the Star Treks. Jack Slaw. But yeah, no, one of my best streaming moments was I spent like an hour after an episode of Star Trek Picard season 2 just talking with one guy because there was something in the episode that didn't really work for me and he thought it did work, and we spent like an hour after the episode just trying to shape how this could possibly work in the canon. My Christmas was good. I mean, it had the church on Ruby Road, so, that was pretty good. But no, yeah, I had a good Christmas, saw some family, did some stuff, played some board games at my dad's. But yeah, as I was saying before, we got on that. My dad is actually such a Doctor Who novice that he said at some point in this episode, like around here, he realized for the first time that all of the Doctors are the same person. You know what I mean? Like that the different regenerations weren't a separate person. They were all the same entity, the same character. And I was like, it reminds me of a scene, no, a director's commentary. Sorry, we're getting off track here, but I really like this anecdote with, the Doctor Who movie opens with like the seventh Doctor, and it's in his TARDIS, and the TARDIS is flying through space, and we kind of zoom in on the TARDIS, and then we cut to the seventh Doctor inside the TARDIS, and the director. I was talking to someone. I heard an anecdote where basically someone didn't realize that the inside, like the bit where the Doctor was sitting, was inside the blue box because it doesn't fit. That it doesn't make sense that the big space would be in the small space, and so it's kind of that things that like is totally obvious if you are even like vaguely familiar with Doctor Who. Like, yeah, even my dad knew the TARDIS was bigger on the inside, but sort of the things that you just don't think about. But yeah, as a Christmas special, I think this was great. It had, it's no A Christmas Carol, which is still I think the best special, but it had that kind of just good vibes. It was cozy. Ruby's family is fantastic. I mean that isn't like as a family. It's very kind of idyllic. You have the story of like this woman who just has fostered a stupid number of kids, and it's just all, we got this baby. It's like, oh, Christmas is ruined, but we gotta watch a baby now. But also it's a baby and it's lovely, and you get kind of the things of like nobody dies except the villain. We'll get to that. And you even get, even though it's very cozy the whole way out, you still kind of get the bit where the Doctor, like, turns a bad situation good when the goblins break time. And it's like, we turn this awful situation into, like, something that's a little bit magical with all the kids. And I just saw, as I was doing that, all the messages just pop, 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 pop in chat. Doctor Who started, I'm not sure that was the point of the show, Jaxla. I'm pretty sure it was to fill like 20 minutes in between two popular shows. The new Doctor's hair in the trailer makes him look like The Weeknd. Doctor Who Season 1 trailer. And yep, in a few months I'm going to have to commit to Season 1 versus Season 14. You don't mean the afro, do you? Do you mean this episode or like William Hartnell, Jack's Law? Because I don't think William Hartnell... Wait, why is the Season 1 trailer... That's a fair... Look, I'll look at that later. Dude... Oh my gosh, boom, 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 boom. Afro, yes, okay. Man, I didn't take any notes on the overall. I took a lot of things. I think, oh yeah, one of the things I love about this Doctor is, until he properly meets Ruby, he has a different outfit in every single scene. There's a lot of things, like, Ruby is really the focus. I suspect episode 1 of the next season is going to be more focused in on the Doctor, because I think we got a great feel of the Doctor. But as a casual fan, it's not as solidified. Like, I think we need to learn more about this Doctor, because we just learned about the Companion. But I love that, we saw from the trailers and stuff and the promotional images, he doesn't really seem to have a set outfit, but literally every scene he was in a different outfit. I counted 5 different outfits in this episode, not counting the gloves, and even just in the end, he's in a different outfit for, like, basically no reason. This Doctor has style. It's one of the things I'm trying to use my brother to convince him to start on here. Ncuti Gatwa's great. Do we want to start on my impressions on Ncuti Gatwa? Yeah, you want to know the moment he became the Doctor? Because every Doctor who isn't 13 has a moment where it's like, yes, hello, Doctor. For 11, it's when he calls the aliens back after defeating them. 10's just whole opening is like when he became the Doctor. For a lot of people with 9, it's the Dalek, just the episode Dalek. Ncuti Gatwa became the Doctor for me with the line, "Such a great name." The whole like Lulu Bell name joke. It's such a dumb thing to become the Doctor too, but I love it because they set up that she's got a bad name. Of course, you as an audience reaction is Lulu Bell. That's a bit weird. I was like, is that maybe like a language I don't know or whatever? And then everyone in the room's like, oh yeah, just that's obviously a bad name. What a bad name. And then the Doctor comes in. Lulu Bell's such a good name, and like constantly through the episode, he's like, damn, good name, and I'm like, yes. Hello, Doctor. That you're the Doctor for me now. Just he had that because not only is it just kind of funny that the Doctor thinks that a bad name is good, but it's sort of that that love of the differences, the Star Trek infinite diversity and infinite ways kind of things. There's a lot in this episode where the goblins are about to eat the baby, but like they're playing a band and they've got this amazing stage and it's good music, and he's like, that's amazing. There's so much. A lot of Doctors has done this. Tennant especially would look at like the big scary monster that comes up and be like, oh, you're beautiful, and Ncuti's bringing that energy, and I love that about his Doctor. I think that's very core. Really, to like any Doctor, I mean, even someone like 12 or 6, like they don't do it a lot, but they have to have little moments where it's just something so crazy comes in, like, oh, that's just beautiful. The Goblin song was amazing, even though it was eating a baby. Yep, I had committed it to memory by the time this episode came out. Like, I was watching, do I still have it open, in fact? For the longest time, I had a tab open on my computer that was just the Goblin song on YouTube. Federal Express man, it's nice to have a Doctor who doesn't have that baggage in him. All of the Doctors since 9 always had that wounded dark soul and the eccentric madman personality. Yeah, it's something I never really thought about because I grew. This is a bad image to use when talking about that. I grew up with. Not 9 was my first Doctor, and I did 10 and a big chunk of 11 before it got pulled from whatever streaming service back in the day. And eventually I did go back to the classics, I did a watch through of 1 through like 12 at the time. I think he was the last one. And then Jodie was my first contemporary Doctor, is who I watched as it came out. I think her second one, whichever that was, 12. So I never really considered how odd it was that it's not 20 years, but I'm just going to say like 20 years, 15, 20 years. We've had a Doctor who always had that baggage, and even Jodie, who wasn't particularly well written, like her first season doesn't really have it, but the character has some like angst and just uneasiness about her that was kind of out of character. But then when you get to destroying Gallifrey, the Timeless Child, like, good lord, that therapy must be good. Seeing that. I think that's even a note I have over here on my oh yeah, no, I'll get to that later. But yeah, God, that therapy is 14 must have really been wonders. But yeah, I was excited, like, after I was kind of played out, and like, yeah, a Doctor who's back to kind of that classic of just going on fun adventures. We can still have darkness. We can still have emotional weight, but not like I literally went through the biggest conflict in the entire universe that's some Lovecraftian nightmare all the time. Like, kind of. And I also destroyed my own people and their enemies, except the enemies survived. Like, you're never gonna have that level of baggage, at least not for a very long time. And so, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to, like, basically, when I'm looking forward to a modern classic Doctor. That's basically the vibe, and that's just something we have not had since 8. And even then, 8 would lean into that angst as we get closer and closer to the Time War. Sonic Screwdriver's the shape of a pear. I'm going to get back to the Sonics. I have a lot I want to say on that. Look, it's the first episode of a new Doctor, new companion, new era. I got a lot to say, so I'm going to return to that. Sounds like they want some real change. I mean, I think we needed it. Like, we'd kind of mind the angst storyline as much as we could. Doctor Who's about changing with the times, succeeding because of change, and yeah, we just need a bit of let's go back to just some people on an adventure. Oh, I think my wife's coming to tell you why River's mom is Ruby's son, why Ruby's mom is River.
I have come to spread my conspiracy theory.
Oh, good. All right, come over here. Let me find her. Oh, by the way, we missed a scene. Because I told Dad to stop. God dang it! You remember Ruby's neighbor?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's an after credit scene where she kind of looks at the camera and is like, "Why are you freaking out? Like, haven't you ever seen a TARDIS before?" So she knows what a TARDIS is, and so clearly this is River Song, just old and decrepit.
It could be one of the versions of River Song.
Anyway, let's go find the church. Alex said they were going to come down. We're going to do a hard pivot from Ncuti Gatwa into Alex's crazy theory.
It's not crazy. It's just crazy enough to be real.
Here she is.
That is River Song.
Hang on a minute. Is that the Doctor's new shoes? No, this is definitely a white person. Because I think we see in later shots, but... Yeah, you have a theory that that's River Song.
I think, and have you gotten to the point where they've already talked about how...
Everyone here has seen the episode, but...
So, Ruby's parents have no genetic evidence.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that we know of, that I know of, it's been a while since I've watched it, shut up, Nathan, that would leave no genetic evidence are River Song and the Doctor. And don't say he looks different now. Shouldn't Ruby look different now? A, him and River would have boinked while he was a white man. And B, Time Lord genetics are weird. I don't question it. I think Ruby is River and the Doctor's child, and River, for whatever reason, decided she could not care for Ruby, maybe because she's in time-space jail, and decided to give her up for adoption. And that's why there's no genetic evidence. Shut up, Nathan.
Well, no.
This is my moment.
The annoying thing about this theory is that it's not River. I mean, especially unless this hood is bigger on the inside. Oh, you can't see my mouse. That's weird. But anyway, is that it's just... plausible enough to where you can't really say, no, you're wrong. And Alex Kingston we know is holding some massive Doctor Who secret that she can't talk about. That's the annoying bit. You're doing a weird success dance, my love.
Suck it.
There we go.
I saw Nathan was live and decided to come and spread my conspiracy theories because I told Nathan I would.
That's my wife's theory. I've got a note here about Fenric we'll get to in about 2
hours.
hours.
Film theory. I've been watching too much Matt Pat. Okay, bye.
All right.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's Alex's crazy theory.
It's not crazy.
Doesn't really look like Alex Kingston.
So Alex Kingston might not be the actress playing River at that point. It might be she regenerated.
Go back. We're talking about Ncuti Gatwa. Come back in 2 hours and we'll be back on this scene.
No. We're talking about this now, motherfucker.
Okay. One more. I don't have anything else to say. I don't think it's River, but you've said your theory. It's on the record now, so if you turn out to be right.
Unfortunately with Doctor Who, even if that doesn't match the actress, she can regenerate, so that pokes holes in any negation is... the weird wobbly time bull with regeneration is, and her not looking like either the Doctor or River Song. It could be just the regeneration they were in.
Alex, you should go upstairs because you're getting to the point where you're not caught up with Doctor Who.
Alright. Bye.
Disney Plus has this really annoying feature where if you happen to go far enough in the episode to where you hit the end credits, it stops working. And I'm trying to get back up. Anyways. Where's Doctor Who? Where's my homepage? Doctor Who. Yeah, 15th Doctor. We said we like that classic thing. I'm actually going to jump towards the end of the episode now, because there's, I think, the newest thing about him. And there's actually a lot of discussion amongst my wife and my parents, who again are not fully caught up, is evidenced by the fact that Alex doesn't know River can't regenerate anymore. Oh, hi, Alex. You were supposed to have left. You were supposed to have left when I was talking about that sort of thing. And it's okay. They'll forget by the time. They're still on Susan, Ian, and Barbara. Yeah, Doctor Who's just Disney Plus is borked, but it'll come back eventually. Let me get past. Okay, there we go. You did leave, and then you came back. The bit at the end, there was a lot of discussion about how the Doctor killed the Goblin King. Basically, how he stops the goblins. And even my dad was like, oh, this is a mean Doctor, you know, and there, you know, the Doctor's got his no violence principle. I'm not gonna pretend for a second that the Doctor's never done something like this before. Heck, we just came off the genocidal Doctor. Hello, Alex. Goodbye, Alex, rather. But I think there's something different about this is done. It's almost Time Lord Victorious, where like Tennant's big arc was he would constantly do these things. And I think this is the part that says the most about the Doctor that's still a little hard for me to define. Is sounds like a lot of change. Where I'm looking for the moment down here where, you know, we just learned how idyllic this family is. We learned how wonderful Check's notes, Kala Sunday is, like fostering 33 kids, the amount of lives she touched, like this idyllic family. And you can see the moment in his eyes when he's looking at the fridge, and there's tears. First off, his eyes are watering. You see, eventually he is openly crying. I cannot think of a single other Doctor who would have done that. Like, good Lord, that therapy must have worked. And I like this in his Doctor, that he is so like emotionally open, which is something, I mean, that's almost antithetical to the character, like up to this point. If any other, the only other time like he really kind of loses it like that, there are two. Funny enough, both the 11th Doctor. When the 11th Doctor is talking to Clara, and he learns he has to go to Trenzalore to what he believes is his final death, and in inside the TARDIS, whatever, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, when he goes into the engine room and it's exploded, and he just kind of breaks down like, I don't know what to do. Like, all this time she's been here for me, and now it's my turn, and I don't know what to do. In like 2,000 years. And he kind of gets this moment, especially there, where, you know, Kala's even saying, like, this little brat is come for Christmas. It's like, she's worth, like, 800 pounds. He's like, don't you dare say that. You know, he has the moment here, and actually, especially when he realizes it's the goblins, where he goes, this will be fixed. Not, I'm going to try and fix this. Not, I'm going to stop this. Not, I'm going to do anything. This will be fixed. The Doctor has made a decision, and it is now going to happen. And I think it's so really powerful how it's done. Like, you know, he goes straight to the church, and he grabs his gravity gloves. The image of him, just him, like little old Doctor, just pulling the massive ship down with his bare hands. Like, yeah, I know he's got magic gravity gloves and it's weightless, but the image of it, he's so determined to fix it. He's just using his bare hands to, clearly struggling, pull this thing down. And the fact that his resolution is to kill the antagonist, which doesn't, I mean, often the antagonist will die sort of by quote-unquote accident, but plenty of antagonists he's chosen to kill. I mean, again, I've made the allusion to the Christmas Invasion a lot, Tennant and the Sycorax. I'm no second chances. I'm that kind of man. It's along a similar vein where, like, I don't think under any other Doctor the goblins would have warranted the death penalty. Like, yes, they go around eating babies, but, you know, in kind of the this is a family show style of way, where you don't actually see them eat a baby, so therefore it's okay. If that kind of makes sense. And I'm looking for the shot where he's like, no, he's the kind of Doctor where the villain can cross a line, and then the Doctor's right, okay, that's the line. You now are going to be stopped, even if I have to kill you. And it's a very kind of hard to define, and I really have to see it develop. It's like, by the end of his run in like 4 or 5 seasons, is kind of what I'm feeling. I can look back and be like, yes, this is the kind of Dr. Ncuti Gatwa was. It's not David Tennant, where in like 5 minutes in his first episode, he outlines his entire character. But it's why I'd really kind of like that next episode to kind of focus in on the Doctor, and we see more of this aspect. He's very much, once you cross that line, he's a no-nonsense Doctor, which I quite like. You think movie like more like Clara? I like that comparison. I think Ruby will be like Clara, but without everything that made Clara so hated. I'm a little out of touch here. I think in the general fandom, Clara's a bit hit and miss. The fans love 12, for baffling reasons. I like 12, but the fans really like 12, generally. And of course, Clara's kind of where the general audience really started leaving. But it's hard to define why exactly Clara didn't quite work. But I agree, just the level of confidence that Ruby displays. So let's transition now into talking about Ruby. I have a note. Where did I realize this? In the song, Ruby and Ncuti were singing to the Goblin King. Like, Ruby is, other than maybe Clara, who we've just seen more of, probably the most capable companion the Doctor has ever had. Like, I don't know, maybe Romano 1? But even then, like, yeah, like, think about what's happening here, where, sure, the Doctor's been doing this for thousands of years, but, like, everything that's happened to Ruby, who, first off, she hasn't really batted an eye at. She's been very, like, I need to save my baby. Well, first off, great job. You've known this baby for all of, like, 3 seconds, but it's now your baby. I love that. No, nothing to say there, but I love that. And she's, like, gone onto this goblin ship. First off, goblins have stolen the baby. What the heck? She's met this man with, like, the magic gloves, gone up into the sky on a goblin pirate ship, like, met the Goblin King, surrounded by a bunch of goblins who she knows will eat her, and had previously imprisoned her, and, like, now the weird spaceman who she has saved her from bad luck, is singing some sort of jazz song to the Goblin King, and she not only just rolls with it, but manages to just rhyme and keep up. Like, she has the little bit where she kind of thinks, she goes like ring-a-ling-ding or something, she kind of thinks, and you can tell she's working on the fly, but, like, I mean, good lord. I was like, wow. It doesn't feel, at least so far, too competent, where, like, it detracts from the story. It's just the best companion material we've seen since Amy? How do we meet Clara? Actually, maybe Victorian Clara. I don't know. But I quickly sort of without me really thinking, lumped Ruby in with the best companions in Doctor Who. Like, I had already decided that she was one of the best companions, and I think she easily could be. This dynamic has been great. It's a unique dynamic. First off, it doesn't seem romantic, which, I mean, thank God, especially coming from Russell T Davies. Most people, their favorite companion seems to be Donna, and hey, that's the only other non-romantic Russell T Davies companion. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. As long as we could just capture that audience, that kind of audience that had left, and heck, even the new audiences on Disney Plus, Doctor Who is in very, very healthy hands with these two. And I think there's more. Most of what I'll say about Ruby is kind of going to come out chronologically because the episode was very focused on her. I do think it's interesting as I go through this episode chronologically to compare this episode to Rose. As I said before, they're both introducing a new era of Doctor Who. They're very similar but kind of different. First off, hello David C. I saw your message pop up. They should have explained the goblins away as aliens, not just fantasy elements. I will get to that because that is my single complaint about the episode. But let me finish this thought first, because Rose, of course, way back in 2000, oh god, way back in 2005, Rose was reintroducing, like, it was introducing a new generation to Doctor Who. At that point, and this is similar, you know, it's reintroducing, and in a lot of cases, introducing people to Doctor Who. But in Rose, Doctor Who was a bad joke that was being remembered by the UK audience. Now, and it had been off air, save for the movie, for like 20 years, you know. I don't remember exactly, but 15, 20 years. Nowadays, Doctor Who is something, there's a mix. There's the people who are kind of born too young to catch the big global times, who they're probably vaguely aware of it, is kind of like something that was once big but have never seen it. And then there's probably most people where it's something that is fondly remembered as a show they used to like, if not love, that they dropped off of for probably reasons they don't really remember. And at worst, because, like, David Tennant is no longer there, or because the Pawns are no longer there, but the replacements for whoever left are now gone. So, you know, that excuse isn't released too firm. So it's going to be a lot easier to bring people in. Like, I think we know the season's got Mel at some point. You know, back in Middle Who, I'll call it Middle Who. Back in Middle Who, we couldn't bring back the classic stuff until like season 2 was when we brought Sarah Jane back and K9 back. So it's like it's performing the same thing as Rose, but it doesn't have as hard of a job because it's not a bad joke you're trying to sell people on. It's something they remember they used to love and used to be big and you know, would probably like it if it was back. You know what I mean? And of course, Doctor Who never actually left. There's been like a 2-week gap between the last era and this one. It's just most people left the show. So, you know. David C. Yes, that was my complaint. I'll actually stop before going here. My dad didn't mind this, but I felt for something that is a sci-fi show, I didn't like that they went so hard into the kind of like the core mechanic of this episode is luck. Luck is a supernatural force. I'm not gonna say there's not precedent in Doctor Who. I'm not gonna say it sticks out from Doctor Who because I don't think it is. I think there's plenty of times. There are dozens of examples you could point to in the most recent and distant past to go even more into the magical. I don't think we should have had it as the very first episode. I think it should have been more, even just, I assume they were alien, they're not even aliens, they were Earthlings. They're just sort of like the hidden world. We never see them. You know, they're the goblin creatures that, like leprechauns, you know, they're around, you just don't see them. Yeah, another dimension. I know Russell T Davies is going into the more mystical and fantastical, which I've been nervous about because, I mean, I by and large like the Moffat era, who was the other fairy tale. You know, he took Doctor Who very fairy tale, but I think you do still need that element of kind of like not necessarily science, but more like reasoning. And for a new audience, like if this is my first episode of the show Doctor Who, that like I didn't really know, I maybe knew in passing what it was, but like it never really seen, I might bounce off because I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? And like he doesn't even know, he's basically just guessing that luck is some magical force. And he's like, oh no, it's not magic, it's different physics. I have the same problem with the Carrionites, where it's like, that's not really how science works. Like, the Carrionites has the line where the Doctor's like, oh, you lot, humanity, you chose, like, math and physics and equations. The Carrionites chose words. And it's just the same thing you choose. And I'm like, the universe isn't, do you want to be a mage, a warrior, or a rogue? The universe isn't some sort of choose your science. Like, if magic is sort of like linguistics really is a form of power, there's no reason that we wouldn't have noticed and derived it from like just existence and study. There's no reason if luck really existed, like any luck or karma or anything like that properly existed as like a tangible force with rules, then we should be able to derive those rules. And so whenever you kind of lead into just like that old development, you know, especially, I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's Doctor Who, you shouldn't care too much. It's like, okay, fine, but I'm thinking more of the new person. I might be a little worried this would bounce people off. Like, even if this was episode 3, you know, as long as you have more traditional stories, I would not have front-loaded the supernatural sort of thing. And yeah, it looks like we're kind of leading into maybe extra dimensional stuff. That's fine. You know, the Toymaker, he has no rules. His like play is literally the binding of his reality. What the heck does that even mean? That's nonsense, but he's from another universe, so it doesn't matter. Like, you know, it really just depends how you pitch these. If they were extra dimensional beings from a universe of luck, great, brilliant. You've just solved it in a quote unquote sciencey way. I agree. David C., $20 to celebrate the new Doctor Who season. I won't point out that it's season 14. If it wasn't December, so I got some Christmas money, I might point out it's technically season 40. But thank you, David C., for the $20. But yeah, that is like my one complaint. The only other thing, like, it's a little weird to have Mavity continue through. I do agree with what a lot of people are speculating, that at some point, probably like the season finale, that's gonna come up. Like some extra dimensional character, maybe even Mrs. Flood, is gonna say like gravity, and that's gonna be like, oh, they're outside of time. They're from a different universe. They're whatever. They're not affected by the change made in the 60th. It's not like an audience will be totally lost. You have to have the Doctor turn to Ruby and say, we met Isaac Newton, things went weird, Mavity is actually gravity, we changed the word. Bam! Sorted. And it's nice for kind of reassurance for the people like me who, when we want, a new era is good, but we don't want to completely ignore everything before. Kind of that assurance that we're still continuing. You know, this is the 15th Doctor, not the first Doctor. That, you know, there are a lot of other things. We had the psychic paper that was never explained to new audiences. I was actually kind of surprised that, like, my dad didn't say, that paper's blank, you know, that psychic paper. But yeah, it was good. But like those are my two complaints really for the episode. Everything else, if I have another complaint, it's that it wasn't literally like one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, which would have been the best possible thing for this new era, and that's an unfair complaint. I wish Ruby's mother got revealed. Well, I don't know if she will, but we're definitely coming back to this. I think I read something recently that's like, oh yeah, we're coming back to that. She's someone. I don't know. I have a note. If I were to throw a dice in, is like, there's not like very circumstantial evidence. Fenric's kind of the only one I can think of. Ruby has no parents, or at least unusual parents. There's no record of them, which that's a hint. This is a hint. She could maybe in some way be like a child of Fenric. She was manipulated. If you don't know, Seventh Doctor fought someone who's basically a god, named Fenric. Done. Bam. Evil god. Yeah, honestly, that's all the explanation. I've never been huge on Fenric, but he's a super popular classic villain. If Fenric's involved, and his big thing is kind of like manipulating events. He manipulated events so the Doctor would meet his companion Ace. If Fenric was doing something similar here with Ruby, that manipulation of time and that creating of coincidences could have attracted the goblins in the first place. That feels like a very Russell T Davies, like, oh, I didn't realize, like, this thing in the past, it actually ties together. He did that, like, the Christmas invasion basically sets up the entire journey of that Doctor. Like, it sets up the fall of Thatcher? Harriet Jones. Why did I say Thatcher? Leads to the rise of the Masters, Saxon. It leads to the rise of... It ultimately leads to, like, the founding of Torchwood. I don't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, that felt like a Russell T Davies thing to move. I also just thought the Ronnie. I really wouldn't be surprised if we bring back the Ronnie. I know there's rights issues, but at some point we're gonna get those sorted. We've got a mysterious woman who knows what the TARDIS is. Welcome to Ronnie speculation. Yeah. And clearly this guy's the master. I don't even have to justify this. I mean, just look at those earrings. But yeah, so like we're coming back to that Ruby plotline. David's... the thing about Russell T Davies' overarching plots in the past is that they're generally not really predictable. It's kind of like the repeated word or phrase or whatever. Maybe he's gotten better, but... we'll have to see what he does. One other piece of evidence, the church that Ruby's left at, I have seen this pointed out by a few people. I did not notice it. This clock face, well, you can see in the corner because it's actually really hard to get exact frames. That is in the toy makers, like Magic Toy Domain. The toy maker, that symbol with like the 3 cubes. It could be a reused prop, but that feels a little odd for what they're being used in, like totally different things. So we know that there's like the toy makers got some sort of legion that was referenced. Beep the Meep mentions like a boss in the 60th. The 60th set up some stuff like that. So maybe somehow the toy makers involved. That might be a point towards Fenric if we're bringing back like the old gods. Like the Eternals and those sorts of people that Classic Who had. That, other than like that one Chibnall story, and I guess the Toymaker, have never really been in Modern Who. And I know we're leaning more into that mystical, fantastical. So I have an inkling we'll see some of those old gods and Eternals and stuff. But yeah, now going, finally, how long are we? An hour into the stream. Let's kind of start by the scene-by-scene thing. I don't really have much to say about this scene, other than the only bit of clunky dialogue in this whole movie? Yeah, screw it. This whole special is, like, oh, I was found, yeah, nearly, 19 years ago. It's like, oh, crick. how do we establish Ruby's age? But other than that, I mean, everything was actually really natural, to the point where I didn't even notice on my second watch through. Like, why do they run into the kitchen to like make it all safe and make sure it's not dangerous? Because we need the doctor to look at the fridge and learn that there are like the 33 children and fosters and stuff. And it's generally the way characters get to events is just, and the story progresses, is really natural, Chibnall. And I think that people named Chibnall could probably take a... it's after this. I'm done. I'm not going to diss Chibnall unless we directly bring him up. But yeah, not too much. This scene, I would like to thank them for writing it, because I am going to record it, send it to my brother, and then he'll go watch Doctor Who. Like, the Doctor, who is male, wearing a kilt, which is basically a dress, dancing in like that, he's gonna come. I'm gonna get my brother to watch this. How did he know where the kitchen is? I don't know. It's not a big flat. I think he left the room, like ran down it, and then ran into the only other room in the flat. I don't know. Who says he was looking for the kitchen? Oh, he was following the... I don't know. Who says he was looking for the kitchen? I think he might have just ran into a room and gone, kitchen! These things are death traps. But it's also not a big flat. And if we're getting to this level of nitpick, it was a good episode. Yeah, my first note is just this. This was actually... It was a really minor thing, but when he goes from the dance floor then to picking up Ruby's glass... I realized on the second watch through, it could be an implication that he time traveled. He didn't move quickly, but I would have expected when Ruby glances over, like, you were just there, to then see that there were two doctors. This was something I never really liked that Russell T Davies did with the 9th Doctor in particular. A little bit of the 10th, but mostly it was in the 9th, that he gave the Doctor a lot of sort of supernatural-esque abilities that just were never really there. Ooh, are we buffering? Sourflake, I think that's just on your end, because I'm all excellent collection. OBS isn't complaining, the stream isn't complaining. I think that might be you, Sourflake. But anyone else, if the stream's having issues, just flag it to me, but everything looks good on my end, even within the YouTube dashboard. I'm just gonna... I think it's your end. I think it's your end. Yeah, so, like, there's the scene. A lot of people cite this as really loving the scene, where the 9th Doctor... Rose is like, Doctor, who are you? And he grabs his hand. He's like, can you feel the Earth spinning around us? Like, we're spinning at stupid miles per hour, and we're orbiting the sun at 1 billion miles per hour. And, you know, yada, yada, yada. He's like, that's who I am, Rose. Like, I never saw that in the first 8 Doctors, or the 10th, or 11th, or 12th, or 13th, or 14th, or 15th, or the 9th, other than when he's directly talking about it. And he's got the bit where, you know, he sort of video game steps through those giant fans to get to the switch in the second episode. Perfectly fine for, like, a new series, if you want your character to do that. But that's something Russell kind of did with the Doctor that I'm like, that level is just never really there. The 8th Doctor has a similar thing, where he seems to have some level of precognition that's just never anywhere else. That I kind of like this Doctor has it in the Sherlock Holmes sense. Like, when he detects the police officer's ring, it's like, I'm not precognitive, I'm not magic, I'm not telepathic, although I guess the Doctor is telepathic. I'm just really clever. And that scene kind of goes to show, if it looks like I know things I shouldn't, it's because I'm actually putting a whole lot of pieces together. I like characters like that, you know, the Sherlock Holmes-esque character. Honesty, you never liked River Song. Are you like an hour behind, Sourflake? Yeah. I don't know. The story was alright, but I kind of agree with most people that River and Eleven were never... I never really saw the couple. It just kind of happened in Let's Kill Hitler, and it was... 11 had this weird aspect of his doctor where he was very, like, sexually oblivious. He's probably the most asexual of any doctor. And as someone who is asexual is a trait I never really saw when I watched classic Doctor Who. I'm like, I don't see this as an asexual. I see this as someone who's just not having romance, like, by choice rather than design. I don't know, but anyway, it's like he also is the most, well, not anymore, but it seems when they dial it up with River, he's also the most, like, sexual, and, like, those weren't River's handcuffs. Those were the 11th Doctor's, and you can't tell me that the Doctor who owns handcuffs is also the Doctor who sits obliviously on Amy's bed, she's practically just telling him how much she wants to do him. He had that weird aspect to his character. Unlike Ncuti here, who clearly is just oozing sexual energy all the time. But yeah, as I said, that kind of felt like a hint that we're going back. It was nowhere else in the episode, but the Doctor can't run across an entire room in half a second flat because he senses that a glass fell down. I think it might be time travel. It was just poorly showed to the audience, but who knows? Who knows? As long as it doesn't come up again, that's all right. And then, you know, we get more senses of his doctor. Like, he's very... I don't want to say judgmental. It's like... You know, when the snowman thing falls on him, he looks at that lady and is like, seriously? A pram at, like, midnight? There we go. There's the scene. When he sees Ruby on the ladder, he's like, who the hell just sees a ladder? And he's like, oh, yeah, ladder from the sky. I'll check that out, babes. You know, he's kind of, is it cheeky? Am I using that word right? It's, I don't know how to describe it, but he's definitely got this aspect to his personality. Which, as long as it's not used at, like, horribly inappropriate times, I mean, like, yeah, whatever. That's cool. It's just a little bit of flavor. I think Ncuti loves sex education so much he acts like Doctor Who in Sex Education. Yeah, I've never seen Sex Education, but I have heard some people say that he was very clearly going to be a good doctor. You know, we have to fill the show with something. It can't all be what breaks the game. Are we? Have I fallen behind or something on the stream somehow? The comments are always a bit delayed, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I already talked about that scene. Here's something, actually, one of my family members said, I can't remember who, when I watched with them, is when Ruby comes home, like, she's just had a bunch of bad luck, and she's just had, like, all her shopping fall out, and, like, she's super cheery, and someone was like, why she's not even upset. Like, if all my shopping bag just fell out and I had to bring it upstairs, I'd be upset. And I was like, you know what? That's good companion material. Like, I want the companion, especially if we're going away from all that angst, to be like, she's just a happy person, I guess. Like, you know, she's affected by things, you know. I mean, there are plenty of points in this episode where she's upset, where she's sad, where she's afraid, but she's a very easygoing kind of person. And I think it was her actress, Melly Gibson, Melly Gibson. I actually have never heard it spoken out loud. I'll learn it though. But have said her and the Doctor are very cliquey. That's kind of their relationship, and I can see that. With they both feel pretty easygoing, like, unless, you know, babies are literally being eaten. And, you know, I like that. As I said, she oozes companion material. I talked about the Lulu Bell jokes. Oh, yeah, and we've already got Russell T Davies back. I mean, you know, it's a Christmas special. It should be, like, happy, cheery. It should be feel good. You should never have a Christmas special that feels sad. It's why when my wife kept looking at me being like, Nathan, if they eat this baby... My wife was genuinely worried they might eat the baby. I'm like, Alex, they're not gonna murder a baby on Christmas Day in Doctor Who. That's just not gonna happen. But, you know, he still tugs at the heartstrings, isn't afraid to take it too dark. I mean, he's the kind of guy who will write Christmas specials where a third of the population is ready to jump off a roof. Where, like, the Prime Minister, where oh wait, that's not Christmas episode. Yeah, no, where the Prime Minister is, like, begging on national news that they need saving because the nation is helpless and Earth's about to fall. Like, he can write some very not Christmassy Christmas specials. I think this one had a good balance, and we're always learning something. Like, we learn Ruby clearly cares about who her birth parents were, which isn't necessarily a guarantee with an adopted character or an adopted person. But, I mean, we see she's very happy. I mean, her adopted mother is her mother. She's very happy with her situation, but she also wants to know quite deeply, like, she wants sort of that connection to that birth family, those siblings, those cousins, to even just know who her parents are. Which, as I said, we're coming back to that, like, the identity of her mother. It's clearly set up for a character. But it's also, like, you know, there are a lot of times where you can see her and you really feel and can get teary-eyed yourself with, like, you know, her being told that I'm sorry, there is no trace of, like, your parents. It basically, it's a hopeless cause. You'll never find your family. You know, especially the scene over here with, you know, when Ruby's taken out of the timeline. Which, hey, just showing how great of a force the companion is on the world. Like, how much of an effect she has on those around her. I like that as well, that we still had a lot of good drama. I mean, if we could make the Doctor openly cry. I don't think that guy at the end who asks, what is that big blue box is the master? Oh, we are behind on comments somehow. No, that was a joke to the old theory that Rory was the master, because I was saying the old lady was the Ronnie. If you're not aware, there used to be a fan theory back with the 11th Doctor, before my time, that Rory was going to be the master, and it's a bit of a joke among, like, the Reddit and some of the fan communities I pop into. And I always say, if I were to write Doctor Who for some godforsaken reason, I'd be really tempted to reveal that Amy Pond was the Ronnie and just subvert that famous trope. Be like, Rory might not have been the master, but Amy was the Ronnie. Or somehow, if we ever get Carrie Gillan back, like, we have the Ronnie disguised as Amy. Being like, yeah, screw it. And that's one of the reasons I shouldn't write Doctor Who. Lulubelle, yada yada. Where are we? Actually, this is something I realized on my second watch through. As we all mentioned, watching it, like, as a bit dark to basically imply that you killed this lady on Christmas. Like, you know, no, people shouldn't die in the Doctor Who Christmas special. Like, especially the innocent bystanders. But I realized that what this does is because everyone walked into the episode with that mentality. Like, they're not, well, unless you're my wife, they're not gonna kill a baby for Christmas, right? It can really undermine the stakes because it's a Christmas special. It's gotta be cozy. It's gotta be feel good at the end. But this kind of sets the stakes of, like, no... people might die. Like, people could get hurt. It kind of tries to counteract that feeling of, well, no, maybe we'll eat the baby, you know? Like, it's a very hard thing to counteract. But I get, narratively, it's actually quite clever. And, of course, at the end, the wheat reveals, oh, the Doctor actually saved her. And then I guess she just decided to hang up on Ruby. We're going to ignore that. The Doctor just decided to save her. And she didn't actually die. So it's almost a bit of like having your cake and eating it too. But done well, where we still try and add tension and stakes to the episode. Like, it's the Christmas special, but, you know, people might still get hurt. As much as you can for, you know, trying to convince people that you might eat a baby for Christmas. but without actually having to, like, make little Timmy sad because the TV lady died. So I just thought that was quite good. A little detail I noticed on my watch through that this goblin has a Santa hat, and I absolutely love it. I mentioned Mavity. And here we go. I took a screen cap a little bit ago. Oh, come on. There's a shot here where you can see the Doctor's shoes. And I just want to point out that they're fantastic. Why is everything but YouTube is like go 5 seconds forward back, but everything else is 10, and it always just takes a while to find scenes. But he's got these weird, like, white, multicolored shoes that... Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that shot, everyone. I love those shoes. I really do. And you can't see... Hang on. So if I... let me minimize some tabs real quick before I do the thing I'm about to do. Screen cap. Hey, look at that. We're on the wrong stream. Don't look at my notes. Spoilers. There we go. Those shoes actually do look kind of similar. Like, you've got the weird black and whiteness on all of them. Oh, I've just realized. How am I gonna... Oh, whoops. That's not the right one. Whoops-a-doodle. Screen cap, watch along. Simple input audio capture. There we go. Whoops-a-doodle. What was on that, screen I just shared? Okay, there was nothing on that screen I just shared. That's good. There was nothing on that screen I just shared. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. I don't have to emergency end the stream. Yes, we're good. See, I minimized all my tabs so I don't accidentally flash either Discord or the YouTube dashboard. Then what do? I flash Discord. Do you play Ultra Kill, perhaps? I do not. There we go. I keep having to check that Discord. I didn't post anything in there, did I? All right, where are we now? Fantastic shoes, brilliant name joke. Did I just got that? Yeah, you also... just more, the bit where he's like, I'm sorry, they are not time travelers. Time travelers are, like, the best. They're like, wow. He's a very modern Doctor. I think the phrase I used to my brother sort of jokingly is kind of like cool with the kids. You know, he says babes, which is, again, my brother was like, that helps out. My brother is going to love this Doctor. Don't be surprised if eventually this podcast is me and my brother talking about Doctor Who. Oh, here's a question. Here's a big one, right? Which one of the Doctors spent the long, hot summer? Oh my goodness, what have we done? Why did that exit out of Disney Plus? I hit the open close bracket and okay. Houdini, cause they mention Houdini, very early, right? Like, I swear even the third Doctor. At some point after this, Houdini and the Doctor Houdini met the third Doctor. There we go, Tarswiki. So the third Doctor is the one who spent the hot summer with. Funny enough, I was thinking it might have been the third Doctor, and in my head I was like, the third Doctor might be the one I can least see having anything that can be described as a hot summer with Houdini. But hey, we're learning new things about that incarnation. Ooh, here we go. Sour Flake, we finally caught up to that bit about the screwdriver. In the episode, I don't really mind the screwdriver's look as much. It's definitely not a favorite. I think I said before, I would have liked one that was kind of more vertical, like the classic Doctors had, as opposed to horizontal, if that makes sense, like the new Doctors. So ironically enough, I was saying I want something different. this was more different than I thought, but I don't know. I don't mind. I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just kind of a gadget that I'd like to see less of. But the clip I'm trying to find is, oh my god, look at that stern look from Shooty. Russell T Davies kind of seems to have done a complete 180 on the Sonic. So there's the bit where he says, screwdriver needs screws. And I was like, whoa, that hasn't been a thing since, like, Patrick Troughton. And even then, okay, the sonic screwdriver doesn't work on wood. I think it would work on the ropes. Like, we've seen the Dr. Sonic ropes before, I'm sure. But, so that was interesting. But in this episode, the Doctor uses the Sonic 3 times. First, to change the traffic light at the start of the episode. Makes sense. No complaints. That was like, if he didn't do that, someone was going to die. He did it here to attempt to get out of prison, and it didn't work. And he did it, this is another point I was going to get to later. After he saves Ruby as a baby, he uses the Sonic to open Ruby's door, which I'm going to actually get to later. I really like that. 3 times. This is just after Russell T Davies decided that the sonic screwdriver is a portable computer as well as portable force field generator. I get the sense that this Doctor, and as well, we've established he's sort of Holmesian in noticing the small details and putting things together. In the same scene, when the Sonic doesn't work, he doesn't go to try and open the door with Ruby. He doesn't go and, like, immediately take action. He's the kind of Doctor who will sit back and think and observe and try and use his mind to come up with a solution. And so I get the vibes that we're going into a Doctor who doesn't really use the sonic screwdriver. It is there, but he doesn't really rely on it. It kind of makes sense if you think how long he must have spent as 14 on Earth. I really need to talk about how bi-generation works at some point, because I've just been brushing by it a lot. He must have, like, it's been a while since he's used one, and I would love it. So many people would love a more thinky Doctor who relies on the Sonic less. And I think we might get it with Shooty. It's just baffling to me that, look, the Star Beast scene with the force fields was nowhere near good enough to justify writing that into the Sonic. Like, we have the 14th is probably the one who has the most overpowered, most reliant on the Sonic. And I almost feel we're not getting that for Shooty. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Russell T Davies wrote the Star Beast, then wrote Wild Blue Yonder, and went, oh my god, it's so much better without the Sonic. But we'll see. I hope I'm not just making nothing out of this, but I'd really love that. We don't need abstinence like the 5th, 6th, and 7th Doctors, but I'd like it to be around less. And a lot of people would. Yeah, let me address this, because some people might be confused. I've referenced a few times, talked about the 15th Doctor is if he comes after the 14th, as opposed to, like, having split off the 14th. Basically, unanimously, the fan community has interpreted bi-regeneration to be, from the Doctor's perspective, you know, the Doctor's at the unit tower, he gets shot, and then he defeats the Toymaker with Ncuti Gatwa after bi-regenerating. 14 then goes to therapy on Earth. He hangs with Donna and her family for ... years. Eventually, for whatever reason, 14 regenerates. He's injured, he's old, 14 dies, you know, it happens. And so he regenerates. At the moment of his regeneration, somehow, he and his TARDIS, he is pulled back in time to become the 15 that bi-regenerates out of the 14th Doctor. So 15 is directly after 14. He just went was pulled back in time for his regeneration. And the TARDIS, that is the 14th Doctor's TARDIS, a little afterwards, or maybe probably the same moment, when the 15th Doctor hits the TARDIS with a hammer and makes two of them, the 14th Doctor's TARDIS gets pulled back in time to that moment. And apparently, that part about the TARDIS is confirmed. At some point in a future episode, it is going to be directly stated that the TARDIS the 15th Doctor has is the same one. It's a future version of 14's TARDIS. So the reason for this, the only point against this theory is that why the Doctor would be pulled back in time for a generation doesn't really make sense. It just happens. But the dialogue of the 60th seems to treat this as how things work. It was extremely poorly communicated. It seems like Russell T Davies wanted to leave a lot of things open to the point of detriment, because there's the bit that I did not understand these lines, and now they make sense, because 15 says, we're doing therapy out of order, and even in my review, I critiqued, I understand why 14 is going to retire. I don't understand why 15 is not. Because they have the same memories. Well, they don't. They do, but 15 also has the memories of 14's future. And there's a line where Donna's like, well, actually, 15 is the older Doctor, because he came out of 14. I'm like, no, he's not. They're the same age, unless 15 was pulled back in time when 14 regenerated. So that's how I'm interpreting it, because it seems to be the intention. It was just so bafflingly poorly communicated to the audience. And of course, once we learned that the TARDIS is just a future version of 15, it didn't duplicate. It's canon, like, just fully in my mind at that point. I thought Trudy would be a terrible Doctor, but now I think they're good after seeing them in action. Yeah, I almost don't... I know what you mean. I said in The Giggle, I didn't really feel I got a sense for Ncuti. And even after this episode, I don't really see the Doctor when he is doing the action. I see him in everything else. And I think that could just be he's not a very actiony Doctor. I've said a lot already about how I think he's a very thinky Doctor. You know, there'll probably be a moment where I'm like, he's fighting some alien. I'm like, yes, this is the Doctor. And I already said, once he said he loved, like, Belly Lulu or whatever her name was, Bell Lulu. I had this written down and then I deleted it. He became the Doctor. He's clearly the Doctor. But you're right, in, like, the actions and the way he quote-unquote fights, it's like I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's also just physically he's not in my mind as the Doctor yet. Every other Doctor, even Jodie, I knew they were the Doctor well before I got to their stories. And so I'd kind of had the sense of seeing them as the Doctor. And of course, 14 looks like 10. So maybe, like, Ncuti's almost the first Doctor who I have to get in my mind is looking like the Doctor. I actually had a similar thing for 9. It took me multiple watch-throughs of his one season till 9 really became the Doctor in my head. I think that's more what's happening on there. Like, in his words, he's the Doctor. And his beliefs, in basically everything what he does, but sort of like him running around, I think it's just time. Because, it's a new body. I just need to literally see him as the Doctor. Whereas, in the more metaphorical sense, I see him as the Doctor, and I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, no one except Matt Smith, and I guess Tennant, really became the Doctor in a day. It takes a little bit to really kind of get in your mind, because, you know what? People just don't really regenerate. I never really walked into work and, like, my boss regenerated, so, Yeah, a lot of the Goblin song. Here we go. Mwah, chef's kiss. It really depends on your sound system. It's a lot better with headphones. Wasn't so good in at my dad's, but as I said, I got this thing committed to memory. When I'm feeding my dogs, my new puppy, baby, we need, baby, we feed. As I said, their new puppy, when I like pick them up, when I gotta bring them somewhere, baby, so soft, carried aloft. Man, my voice is deep after talking for an hour and a half. It's brilliant. It's amazing. I love it. I love the song that comes after it that I wasn't expecting. Here, let's move this a little bit. Everything about this, just the baby so chill, the seasoning, the goblins, who are fantastically done. I haven't mentioned this yet. This set, the woodworking, the ship, the lighting, the goblins, the king, heck, even the like more quote unquote boring stuff, just like the flats, the streets. They're flawless. I used to believe, actually similarly to Russell T Davies, that if you hit a certain point of visual fidelity and budget, it would detract from the show or the movie or the whatever. Not as like a choice, not as like because directors get carried away. It was a matter of fact that it would happen. The great example I use is Vincent and the Doctor is always the episode I kind of use, not just of Doctor Who, but generally when this kind of started happening, is there's a scene, it's not the opening, I think it's when like Amy, the Doctor, and Vincent are walking and Vincent's like, oh, I can feel the loss in your heart to Amy, It opens to like a shot of like some sunflowers. It's got some like color shading. It's HD, of course. You can see the light. And every time I see that shot, I think, yeah, this is I see the director spending like a long time getting this set up, working with the colors in the edit, getting it really artsy. And like, it takes me out of it, there's always a bit of taking me out, like, you have this visual fidelity, so you use it and it always happens and you get more focused. Not even more focused. Like Vincent and the Doctor, I love the example because it's a fantastic episode. It's so good. But there are like the little moments where I'm like get taken out of it because I can see the director doing their work. And you're not supposed to see the director. It's like VFX. If a VFX artist did their job right, you're not going to notice them. Or any effects, really. All of this is like on that level where, I don't notice it. I'm like, yeah, that's the Goblin King. That's the goblins. These are the sets, the lightings. But the three specials and, continuing in this episode with Russell T Davies have single-handedly changed my mind because they don't do that. And they are the highest production value things I've ever seen, I think. Like, I'm never once taken out of the moment by how good something looks like that, or like a director's stupid artsy shot, or anything like that. And those things are still in there. Those elements are still in there. You still have the nice shots. You still clearly have the labors of love. And I've gone like, oh wow, the Meep puppet is great. The goblins look great, but not in a sense that takes me out of it. And from the guy who intentionally kept Doctor Who at standard definition because he believed once they switched to HD, it would be more about the visuals. Yes, he's the only guy in the world who can ever get me to see that good, like a certain level of visual fidelity doesn't force a detriment to the story. And I was never the one who's like, oh, the bad effects are part of the charm. Like, Doctor Who should intentionally have bad effects. No. God, no. Like, I agree. I like seeing how they do some of the old things in the classics. Especially in, like, the 60s era. It's more interesting to see how they pulled this off without VFX. But, like, once the green screen was invented with Pertwee, I'm like, this is funny, but, like, I'm not gonna pretend it wouldn't be better if the perspective was vaguely correct. I've never gone that far, But I'm like, yeah, there's no longer a ceiling they think VFX should be. You just need to be good. You need to be Russell T Davies. I'm just blown away by how all of these shows look. I wish every show looked like this. Oh, I just turned off my headphones. Yeah, we also got the line in the song. A lot of the song made more sense having seen the episode. Like, I could never work out he likes to dine on coincidence. And as the doctor was explaining it, I'm like, oh, that's what they mean. We got another reference to the Goblin King not being a myth, which I love. Some comments I saw on YouTube were like, it makes no sense for the goblin to sing about how the Goblin King is not a myth, because all the goblins know it. For me, it's the perfect level of camp. But also, again, tying back to the thing with the Salt and the 60th anniversary, and Russell T Davies wanting to go more to the fantastical, I think it's kind of like how Harold Saxon would always come up in previous seasons, or Bad Wolf. It's like the big bad of season 1, the end villain's gotta be some big myth, like Fenric, or an Eternal, or a Guardian, or whatnot, and we're definitely getting more, like, myths, or... You know, I bet the Land of Fiction would kind of be fun. That might be interesting to revisit for a new Gopter. And yeah, again, Ruby. I love Ruby in this. Is just so... she's got to save the baby, so that's what she's doing. Like, she's scared. She's nervous. You know, she's worried about all this. She's not totally unaffected, but she's also, like, she's got a job to do. Also, look at that. Those weren't the doctor's shoes at the church, because they're red on the back and not black. But yeah, she's great companion. I can't wait to see more of her. And they can both sing, which is really good to have in your back pocket, I think, after this Goblin song. I just punched my desk. Don't worry about it. Jack's Law, you changed your avatar? God, this stream has been going on for so long that Jack's Law changed their avatar 2 times. This is definitely going to be a long run. Think the Goblin King died too fast? Do you mean you wish you would have carried him around? Kept him around in the series? Because, like, I mean, if I got stabbed through the chest with a church, I probably would have died pretty quick, too. Yeah, I got a lot of notes. I liked, oh, please, I really wanted that frame. I really wanted that. Come on, look at that frame. That's such a good frame. I like the one that came after. Like, more screen time. I mean, he probably costs a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah, the follow-up song Shui did, I like this. This was the one thing in the episode my dad didn't like. He kind of rolled his eyes a bit, which, you know, I mean, fair. It's pretty Doctor Who, it's camp, it's fun, especially for the 60th, but I'm sorry, I'm waiting for a very particular frame to come up on the episode. Come on, let me see. Basically, I want to say I love that the Goblin King, fine, we'll use that frame. He's kind of jiving when the doctor's singing, like, hello to the Goblin King. He's got his little hand that he's, like, patting, and he's kind of nodding his head. Oh my god, my actual note is effing great, but it doesn't say, it's more explicit than that. Yeah, this was the moment where I was like, how great is Ruby? I'm also gonna check subtitles, English, UK. That makes sense. I swear that the doctor says Rose. Both times I've heard it. I'm sure he's probably says Rubes, but, oh, there we go. The Goblin King's kind of jiving, yeah. Fun day. Meet my friend. She's Ruby Sunday. There's a line in here where I swear he says, like, me and Rose. Like, almost like, oh, this companion's so good, she must be Rose. It's my birthday, I'm 50 miles up in the sky, but goblins, you can go to hell. Yeah, there's the companion. because you're not eating Lullaby. Yeah, it's me and Rubes, but it really sounds like Rose to me. I love when they get back. Hang on, let's just get rid of those. When they get back, the stream is dying. Again, Sourflake, I think that's you, because I'm not getting any of that on my end. YouTube says we're fine. OBS says we're fine. Although I was playing it. Maybe streaming Doctor Who is a little too much. But whatever the case, we seem to be good now. I loved when they got back home that the grandma, Cherry Sunday, great name by the way, her line is like, I've given up on my cuppa, I'm practicing a life of abstinence, and then this doctor walks in, and it's like, oh, suddenly my life of a different kind of abstinence has come to an end. It's just a little dumb thing. Here we go. Everyone ready? Brace yourselves. I've got complaint number 2 about the episode. This bit where he looks at the gloves when they get back, and they're like 3% left. Only 3% left. That didn't go anywhere. Like, even at the end of the episode, he drags the pirate ship down, which has got to be massively more draining than anything else in the episode. Like, I got some notes. You can explain it. I'm not going to bother to. But that just felt really weird. I wonder if there's another draft of the episode where the fact that the gloves were low was a plot point. But, I don't know. That just felt really weird. It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, I talked about that. Oh, something else I only noticed on my second watch through is when they're watching through the kitchen, they're shouting like, you know, I didn't think I'd be fighting magic. Like, don't leave the baby alone. They're like clearly panicked and stuff has gone on. All the while, in between the Doctor and Ruby, right? In this hallway, is Cherry. Look at her. You can see her. Like, they're shouting in between, and she's even giving side-eye. I wonder what the hell Cherry thinks is going on. I'd love when Ruby's family eventually learns about her traveling with the Doctor. If the grandma's like, I always knew, you know, they were shouting about, they didn't mention goblins specifically, but like, she also, it's not really a complaint because she totally seems like the kind of woman who's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna go by knitting. I want my coffee. Good night. But yeah, I also think it's interesting that I believe this is the first time, at least in Modern Who, and the Classic Who never really did this, where the family has already met the Doctor. I guess Jackie had met the Doctor briefly, but this family kind of properly spends some time with the Doctor before Ruby runs off. So there's some potential for some interesting new family dynamics with that. Like, I almost thought, especially when Ruby kind of broke down after they got back, and I think it's the bit right here when her mom comes home, that she was just gonna straight up tell her mom about the goblins. And we'd have a companion whose family knew about the travels right from the get-go. That could potentially be interesting. Yeah, Sourflake, I can't wait for the next episode. Yes, I'll definitely be covering that. Spring, we might have some conflicts with Star Trek, but I'll cross that bridge when we get there. I definitely want to continue this because it's been going good, and we've got basically 2 different sets of audiences. You might have to start watching the show again. Jaxlaw, do you mean that you haven't seen this episode? Yeah, no, it's a good jumping on point. I think it has the potential to be bigger than it ever was now that it's on Disney Plus, which like is basically free. Who doesn't know someone who has Disney Plus? I'm not paying for it. My wife had it. And even then, I feel like a lot of people just have it from someone outside the family. My mom has it. So that whole household could get it for, you know, basically free. My dad had it. That's how he watched it up at their place. And I don't have to pay for 2 streaming services, so look at that. Because who owns Paramount Plus? Yeah, there was the weird line where it's like, she's too young for toys. I'm like, really? You're gonna have a... I don't think you can be too young for, like, a stuffy or something. Yeah, I love her much. The doctor loves Lulu. Hey, Lulu Bell! That was her name. I wrote it down for once, actually. Lulu Bell. That's right. I don't have all the character names written down, so I don't forget them. Yeah, I talked about this already, where he sees the empty fridge. He decides it should be fixed. Yeah, here's the bit I didn't get. Going back to kind of how determined the doctor was to fix everything. Here, it actually, I didn't quite notice it at first. The stream might struggle a bit. Okay, he uses it 4 times. He uses the Sonic to open this flat door, which I don't think is it locked? It might actually be locked, but, like, he could ring the doorbell. Here we go. He runs up the stairs, like he's been running this whole time, but just before he gets into Ruby's room, he pauses. He, like, grips the railing a bit for stability, and it's just a tiny bit he pauses. Like, it's not even, it wouldn't be a pause if he wasn't running up the stairs beforehand, but you really get the sense he's actually bracing himself a bit for, like, what if it didn't work? Or, like, what if things aren't exactly like they were before? What if I didn't do it? And I really like this sort of emotional vulnerability in the Doctor. It's really refreshing. First off, you could tell some great stories. Like, already in this episode, it's been used so many times. But, the only other Doctor I can think maybe could have anything vaguely like this is the 5th, but they didn't really write characters so much back in the day. They were never allowed to, like, grieve or pause or do anything. He's still confident. He's confident, that's important, but you really get the sense that he spent some time properly in therapy, sitting down, not just going over what happened since the Time War and, like, all of that, but his whole life just kind of putting himself together. Like, not even, as I said before, not that most, if not, like, all the classic Doctors really need that, but just almost like, who do I want to be? Like, you know, what across my entire life have I liked, have I not liked, has worked, hasn't? And I feel he really end in this Doctor who's not afraid of his emotions. That's what it is. It's not so much the emotional vulnerability. That was always there. It's he's not afraid of it anymore. He's allowing it to be on the surface, even when he's alone. It's no more Tennant sitting in, like, looking at the middle distance. We get the open crying. We get these little moments of pause. And again, when he's about to use the sonic screwdriver just on the lock, he could have knocked. Look at that. It wasn't, okay, maybe he did use the sonic to unlock that. But, by the way, if you want to look at this sonic, just, like, Google it. There was a YouTube video that went over it really well. It's that determination that, like, it's such a minor thing, but even those, he's like, no, I'm getting through these doors because I need to see. He's not yet resolved it because he doesn't know if things are fixed. He's like, I need to see this through. I need to see that it's working. And you can do some interesting things, both good and just putting the Doctor flat out in the wrong with this. And I think it's totally different enough. It's on a different level to Time Lord Victorious. It's not going to feel like a repeat. Like, Time Lord Victorious was the Doctor basically deciding he was God. This is different. Like, the Doctor didn't even violate any laws of time. Like, he was, if anything, enforcing the laws of time. Oh my god, that's the tool now? Yeah, you know what, I'll tell you, because most people probably haven't seen this. Maybe it's designed to look different so you won't miss it when he stops using it. Sonic Screwdriver, 15th Doctor. The other day, I googled the letter K and the number 9, expecting the robot K9 to come up. There we go. that's a good one. Yeah, so this is it. It's got this bit down here that kind of flips out. Apparently, that's basically like an alien USB. I don't think, well, that's not 15 because that's a white person. So I don't know if that's the actual prop. One thing I do like about this is right here. It's got a Rwandan proverb translated to Gallifreyan. The sharpness of the tongue is stronger than the sharpness of the sword, something like that. It's basically the pen is mightier than the sword, but Rwandan. But the interesting thing about this as well is they said translated into Gallifreyan. And there are, to my knowledge, 2 sort of fan Gallifreyan languages. There's never been an official one. It's not like Klingon or Elvish or Game of Thrones. It's not a real language. Yes, Game of Thrones is a language. Shut up. But I imagine they probably had to pick one. And they've, like, canonized one of the 2 Gallifreyan languages. Because they probably didn't just make stuff up and say, yeah, this says the pen is mightier than the sword, but in Rwandan. I think that's nice, you know? But that's what it looks like now. Look, if you want to complain that the sonic screwdriver looks like something that's definitely not a screwdriver, go take a look at 13's. Yeah, we've got Miss Flood. I'll get back to her. I think I'm basically out of notes. Yeah, I did have a thought. Do you think... I wonder if the Doctor was testing Ruby. Because he... You know, when he pauses, like, am I the bad luck? He hasn't had a companion for quite some time. We don't know how long he spent as 14 with Donna's family. It makes sense that'd be, like, the rest of Donna's life. But, you know, it was a long time, because the therapy clearly did a lot. But, I wonder if he decided, I will take Ruby. I will take a companion again, but only if she's good enough to come seek me, basically. Like, he wants to do the first companion, his first new companion, right. He needs to make sure it's the right person, and that he's ready, to face that responsibility again. I like to think the Doctor tested her. He was going to hang out here for a few minutes. If she doesn't come out, she doesn't come out. He goes off. And until Big Finish decides that he actually had 15 companions before this point, I'm going to choose to believe that. I don't really like all the new characters in one episode. I would challenge that there were. We had the Doctor and Ruby, duh. I think Kala and Cherry are in Miss Flood, are the only characters who are really going to be important. That's 5 characters. Miss Flood wasn't really in the episode. She was a side character until the end credits. That's 4 characters. Most shows have a main cast larger than 4 characters that you're introducing in less time than, 58 minutes? Yeah, like 50 minutes. I don't think it's overwhelming at all. And especially when you consider Cherry Sunday, at least currently, is a very simple character. She's a no-nonsense grandma who sits in a bed all day because she refuses to leave. Kala got the most development out of anyone who's not, the Doctor or companion. But as I said, even the Doctor was sidelined a little bit for the companion, intentionally. I understand why it's done. It's not a bad thing. But yeah, I would challenge that there were... If you don't like it, fine. But, that's your right. But I don't think it's an unusual... I would actually say it's a low amount of characters, main characters, for what's basically a pilot. Even the goblins, like Goblin King, was the only goblin that had a heavy air quotes, name. So I'm actually gonna, your critique has made me realize something I want to compliment, is that character-wise, it was very simple and very focused, which is what you'd want for the Doctor Who pilot. I mean, I think pilot, from the 12th Doctor was very similar. Rose had more characters. Rose had Jackie and Mickey, and Rose and the Doctor. That's actually the same number of characters if you don't count Miss Flood. Yeah, I wonder if Rose and this episode were written by any of the same people. The only one I can think of that was busy is 13's first episode, but that's because the writer wasn't very good. And even that's not a problem. I mean, God, how many, what's the bridge crew of a Star Trek, So, yeah. That era of Doctor Who has many problems. The fact that there are 3 companions is not one of them. I will fight this, because a lot of people says Doctor Who has a problem when there are 3 companions. It's too crowded. Which is a stance I will never understand. Again, the bridge crew of a Star Trek series is 8 or 9 characters, in the main cast. Most shows have more than 4 main characters, the Doctor and 3 companions. And even again, Star Trek has episode of the week. They go to the alien planets and they have to introduce all these new villains and new species and new cultures, just like Doctor Who. The problem isn't that there are 4 companions. It's that when Doctor Who happens to have had 4 main characters, the writing happens to have not been its strongest, at least according to a lot of people. I don't know. 5th Doctor's got some good stuff. Look at that. No, look at that frame. That's such a good frame to end. Yeah, look. That's a Doctor who was testing Ruby, I think. And yeah, I would have liked a bigger shot of the TARDIS. We're going to get the whole it's bigger on the inside next episode, but I even had to Google for my stepmom. I was like, here's the TARDIS interior it didn't want to show you. We've seen some great things with the lights in the trailer for season 1, which, by the way, as someone who really doesn't like trailers, is very good at not telling you anything. You will learn nothing that hasn't been in widely shown media. The only thing you might learn is one of the episodes focuses on a certain historic group, and you learn that if you didn't know it already. Yeah, historic. That probably made some people feel old. There's a bit in there, though, where the TARDIS has, blue and pink lights, and it looks good. It looks good in there. It's still not my favorite. Put some furniture in there, then we'll talk. That's still Capaldi is my favorite, but it's so much better than what we had before. And it feels like we now have the right characters for it. Donna in the Doctor, I don't think really, in 14, didn't really work in this TARDIS. And actually, especially with the yellow light, Ncuti Gatwa looks amazing in the TARDIS because of the way the light reflects, against his skin, and even his leather outfits. This TARDIS was designed for a black man. He looks in it better, so much better in it than David Tennant. But even Ruby here, just with her black coat, her red outfits, and of course I like this sweater color, blending in with the TARDIS. Similar to how 11 kind of felt a bit wrong in 12's TARDIS, 14 and 14 and Donna felt a bit wrong in this TARDIS, but now we've got 15, and it feels better. And yep, this is a great jukebox. I bet it's going to play Beatles songs in an episode that I referenced. Anything else? Yeah, I compared this to Rose a bit. Talked about Fenric. Yeah, I think that's it. We didn't hit the 2-hour mark. I am amazed. God, we had a lot to talk about. Spring 2024. Was that, I think it was spring 2024 we should be back. Hopefully it doesn't conflict with Star Trek, but either way, I'll definitely do both. I don't know. I don't know what to talk about now. Well, that's good, because I was leaning into the wrapping up part. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited for this era. I know I'm excited. I don't sound like that. I'm not someone who tends to, like, once the show's done, I'm kind of like, I'll look forward to it, but I don't really think about it too much. Yeah, see you in 2012. Well, if you want, I'll be continuing my Star Trek watch-alongs. Hopefully before spring, I want to work out a way to do Doctor Who watch-alongs. So, if you want these reviews, especially, like, subscribe, look into, look around for those. Doctor Who is just difficult, because for watch-alongs, you can't get a consistent version, and I have to look at how different they are. I've said this before. The American version of the 9th and 10th Doctor is slightly faster than the international version. It is the same episode. It is just slightly faster. And that's very bad for a watch-along. And since it's not on, like, a forever streaming home yet, if it was all on Disney Plus, I'm like, that's fine. Everyone go watch the Disney Plus version. That'll be good enough. But currently I'd have to just watch the American version, and that's bad for a show whose core audience is British. But yeah, no, that was good. It was a good Christmas special. I'm happy these are back. This was my first Christmas special that I actually watched on Christmas Day when it came out. I joined Doctor Who. I caught up when they got rid of Christmas specials. That was really frustrating. But yeah, this was good. I think it's a good start to the era. It could have been better. I mean, it could have been the best episode of Doctor Who. As I said, that would have been the best thing. But that's unreasonable to ask. It was good. If I was brand new coming here, might be a bit worried about the luck thing. But especially if there's someone else who's told me, I might like this, I could join in. I'd definitely give it another go. I don't know if it was good enough for me to mark my calendar, especially for a vague spring rather than a hard date. But, once it actually exists and you're not having to wait for the new episode to come out, I'd give it a few goes. And I mean, Rose isn't a perfect episode. It's good, I like it, but it's got its problems. It's got a lot of, discussed things. Plastic Mickey looks plastic as hell, and that's unbelievable. It can be quite camp, but past the point of charming. The visual effects can detract, like when the bin is eating Mickey, and the bin burps, The Slovene stuff is quite childish. It leans a bit too much into the fart stuff. It's like Dalek is for a lot of people the one where it finally clicked is like, okay, Doctor Who's back. And that's what? Episode 4? What is Dalek? We got another Doctor Who Dalek. Please, Google, be smart. Why is the second image of Dalek? Okay, no, for some reason the preview second image is a woman in a Dalek dress. Season 1, episode 6. So yeah, like, the good episode in season 1 is like halfway through the season. But season 1 is also just solid. It might not have like a great episode until Dalek, but it's got 5 solid episodes that have great moments. And so that's kind of, we just need an early episode to be like, yes, this is the one, Doctor Who's back. And am I crazy? As Russell said something about an early episode, like 3 or 4, that, is the one that kind of gets everyone to really stick with it. But yeah, I mean, it didn't bounce me off, and that's the really important thing. This episode had to not be bad. If this episode was bad, that'd be a big problem. But as it is, it's good, and there's definitely enough in here to make me want to come back. And we just need episodes like that until the Fantastic one, and then you can write a bad one. You can write a stinker after that if you want. Well, hopefully not directly after, but, then you got some wiggle room. You just can't write a stinker till that point. So yeah, with that then, I will wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. We got Balance of Terror and Star Trek. Should be this weekend. That'll be an interesting episode. That's quite a big one. But yeah, until that point, I will say thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.